Got a big HTML practical exam or a technical interview coming up? Well, you're in the right place. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know to not just pass, but to absolutely crush it. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so what's the one language every single web developer has to know, no exceptions? It's not a trick question. It's the language that forms the very blueprint of the entire web, HTML. But just knowing the name isn't going to cut it in your exam. You need to really understand what it is and how it all works. So here's our game plan. We've set this up just like a study guide. We'll start with the absolute basics, then we'll add content and make hints interactive, we'll even tackle an advanced challenge, and then we'll wrap up with what it really takes to earn that top grade.
Let's start with the big picture. Imagine you're building a house, right? HTML, or HyperText Markup Language, that's your structural blueprint. It gives the web page its skeleton. Then you'd bring in CSS to add all the paint, the furniture, the style, the clothes, so to speak. And finally, JavaScript comes in. That's the electricity and the plumbing, the muscles that make everything interactive.
And you gotta know, HTML is not some dusty old language. Not at all. It's what we call a living standard, which means it's always evolving. From its very early days back at CERN, through that huge HTML4 update, and right up to the super powerful HTML5 we use today, it's constantly getting better.
All right, time for the first round of our exam, the fundamentals. Every single valid HTML page you will ever build is based on this core structure. Seriously, get this right and you are already well on your way.
The easiest way to think about it is like a person. That DOCTYPE declaration, that's the birth certificate. It tells the browser, hey, this is a modern HTML5 document. The HTML tag, that's the entire body. The head is the brain. It holds all the behind-the-scenes info, like the page title. And the body? Well, that's everything else, the part that everyone actually sees.
You can bet that any examiner is going to ask about the difference between classic HTML and HTML5. The key upgrade was that HTML5 just cleaned up the web. It gave us native audio and video tags so we could finally ditch those clunky, insecure plugins like Flash. Plus, it gave us all these great semantic tags like header and article, which makes our code way more meaningful. Okay, this is a super important concept you've gotta get: how different elements behave. Block-level elements, they're like building blocks. They stack on top of each other, each one starting on a new line and hogging the full width. Inline elements, on the other hand, they just flow together, side by side, kind of like words in a sentence. Now here's a really common trap for beginners: using the div tag for absolutely everything. Please don't do it. A div is totally fine as a generic container just for styling, but using semantic tags like section for groups of content and article for standalone pieces, that gives your code meaning. And that is so important for search engines and for accessibility tools like screen readers.
Okay, our webpage has a solid skeleton. For the next part of this exam, we're going to add the flesh and bones. The text, links, and images that really bring the content to life. Listen up, because here is a tip that will definitely score you extra points. Whenever you make a link that opens in a new tab using target equals blank, you should always add rel no opener. This little attribute prevents a security risk where the new page could actually hijack your original page. It's a small detail for sure, but it shows you're serious about security.
Organizing information is everything, and lucky for us, HTML gives you 3 great tools for the job. You've got ordered lists for when the sequence really matters, like steps in a recipe. You've got unordered lists for when it doesn't, like a shopping list. And then you have description lists, which are perfect for stuff like a glossary.
Awesome! Our page now has structured content. But let's be real, a static page is pretty boring. So the next part of our exam is all about making it interactive by building forms to collect info from our users.
Choosing between get and post, this is a huge deal. The get method sticks all the form data right into the URL where everyone can see it, which is fine for something like a search query. But for anything sensitive like a password or a credit card number, you absolutely have to use post, which hides the data in the request body. Using the wrong one is a major security flaw. And here's something that shows you're thinking about everyone. By using a label and linking it to an input with matching for and ID attributes, you do 2 things. First, you make a bigger clickable area for your user, and second, way more importantly, you tell screen readers exactly what that input field is for. It's such a simple step that makes your forms usable for everyone. Okay, you've made it this far, you've mastered the fundamentals, you can build a page with content and forms. Now for the fun part, the advanced challenge.
This is the part of the exam that separates a good developer from a great one. So here's a classic gotcha question. Why should you use strong instead of be just to make text bold? Well, it's because strong doesn't just make text bold. It tells the browser and screen readers that this text is important. The be tag, it's just for looks. Always, always choose the tag that best describes the meaning of your content, not just how you want it to look.
You know how annoying it is when a page takes forever to load? Page speed is everything, and how you load your JavaScript files can make a huge difference. Use defer for scripts that need the whole page to be ready before they do their thing. Use async for independent scripts like analytics or ads that can just run whenever. Knowing the difference shows you're really thinking about performance.
And that's it. We've reached the end of the exam. You've covered structure, content, interactivity, and even some advanced stuff. So let's review the key takeaways that are going to determine your final grade. So if you want to walk out of that exam with an A+, these are the principles you need to live by. Write semantic code that actually has meaning. Prioritize accessibility so everyone can use your site. Structure your documents logically. And always be thinking about performance. See, good HTML is all about creating a web that is well-structured, accessible, and efficient. And if there is one single thing you remember from all of this, please let it be this. Your job as a web developer isn't just to make code that works. It's to write code that clearly communicates its meaning to browsers, to search engines, and most importantly, to people. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Technologies like web components now let us create our own custom, reusable HTML elements. So as HTML continues on its journey as a living standard, are we on the verge of a new era where we can basically invent our own tags? How are we going to shape its future? And that is a wrap. You are now equipped with the key knowledge to go out there and ace that HTML exam. Thanks for learning with us here at Robo for Education. Be sure to check out our channel for more explainers to stay ahead of the curve. Good luck!